everyone, this is Fahima from Cold Porcelain, South Africa. Welcome to my world of cold porcelain. Today I would like to show you a few things that you would need to start you off on your cold porcelain journey. Okay, so this is my very own brand of flexible cold porcelain clay. You need to wrap it really tightly in cling wrap because it is air drying. You can see the consistency is really soft, it's pliable, and it's such a pleasure to work with. It does dry a little bit translucent, so you will need to add a little bit of white paint in order to remove some of the translucency. When you're done, you wrap your clay up in cling wrap and then store it in an airtight container, and it will last you really long. Sculpting tools are an essential type of tool to have in your toolkit. These ones in particular I bought from PNA for, I think it was 45 rands, but you can use what you have on hand. You don't have to have these in particular. It's good to have a variety of different sets. This set only cost 30 rands at the local Chinese store. This set also cost me 30 rands and it's from a crafter's supply store. As you can see, different sets come with different tips and you use them for different things. If you don't have any, I have this on my website icingobsession.co.za, which you can purchase to use for cold porcelain as well. Bowl tools are essential to refine and shape your petals, and these include nail dotting tools. For smaller components and for finer detailing, these are perfect, and you do want to have this in your toolkit. Sheets for rolling out your cold porcelain is essential. You can get any kind of document folder, laminating plastic if it's thick enough, or any stiff kind of plastic that you can use. In this case, with the document folders, you will need to remove any excess bits like this thick piece of cardboard that is in the spine. When you open your document folder, there's plastic and metal within. You will need to remove this, especially if you are going to be using a pasta roller to roll out your cold porcelain. Once you're done removing all of the excess bits, you can decide if you would like to use a pasta machine. If you are using one, you will need to cut your document folder in order to fit the machine. You can also use these document folders to store your leaves and petals that you don't want to dry out too fast. A common problem with document folders is that it tends to bend after a few uses. Ideally, you will need to change it as it becomes harder to use while it's bent. You can repurpose these, which I will show you later on. This is thick book cover plastic that you use to cover school books usually. Now I prefer using this to roll out my cold porcelain because it's just very nice to use. So you don't want to use the thick plastic that comes in a roll. You want to use the ready-made type as it's much more sturdy. So you will cut it into a piece that suits you and you will continue using it like you would use your document folder. Baby oil, a white lotion, and any type of talcum powder is essential. You do need to have these. Baby oil and lotion is used to grease surfaces such as your rolling sheets and your cutters. You can switch between lotion and baby oil according to your needs. It's not a hard and fast rule that you've got to use baby oil for one thing and you've got to use lotion for something else. No, it doesn't work that way. Some cutters will cut cleaner with a thin coat of lotion along the edges, while others will cut cleaner with a thin coat of baby oil along the edges. Please use your discretion and use either one accordingly. Baby powder is used to prevent your cold porcelain from sticking and also used to dry up any surface moisture for easier handling, as well as to prevent sticking to veiners and other surfaces while working by dusting small amounts onto surfaces with a brush. If your cold porcelain is a bit too sticky to handle, please let it air dry for a bit, but do not add a whole lot of baby powder or any corn flour to the clay to make it firmer. This will result in brittleness of the dried CP and it will break very easily. Having a pasta roller is optional. If you have one, use it because your paste will be rolled very evenly, but if you do not have it, you will be able to do without it.
Rolling pins are essential. Use anything that you have. I personally love using these acrylic dotting tools that I found at P&A for 90 rands. You do not have to use these in particular, so feel free to use the small cake decorating rolling pins if you have one on hand, or anything else that's small and convenient to use. If you do have these on hand, you will benefit greatly from the different thicknesses. Cutters are essential because not everything can be cut out by hand. You can use plastic or metal cutters. When purchasing plastic 3D printed cutters, you can ask for your supplier to make the edges really thin, which is 0.4 millimeters. The blue cutter is 0.8 millimeters thick, while the rose leaf is 0.4 millimeters thick. I use both easily. Templates are optional, but it's really nice to have them. If you do not have cutters for certain flowers and do not want to purchase it, you can make your own templates by tracing your shape onto paper, then you will cut it out, then you will trace it onto document folder or any thick plastic, which you will then cut out as well, and then you will use the plastic template to place onto your cold porcelain to cut out whatever petal or shape that you need. Glues are essential. Use any clear drying glue to stick components together. The yellow bottle is a watery consistency from the stationery shop and it only cost me 20 rands. The tacky glue is from Take a Lot. It's a much higher quality and it costs 60 rands. Florist wires are essential. You will find different gauges of wire for different purposes. I keep all sizes on hand from 18 gauge, which is the thickest available, all the way to 30 gauge, which is the finest available in South Africa. Sometimes you may find that your flowers are too heavy. If that's the case, you will need stronger wire, and I highly suggest these electrodes that are used for welding. They do come coated. You will need to use a plier and pinch off the coating, which is really easy to remove. Once you're done, you will tape your wire as you would with your regular florist wire, and you will use as required. Long nose pliers and side cutters are essential. You do need to have these. Long nose pliers are used for bending your wires into hooks and loops. Your side cutters are used for cutting through your wires, especially the thicker wires. Florist tape is essential. Florist tape helps your wire to stick to the cold porcelain a whole lot better. I prefer using white, but you can change the color to match the color of the cold porcelain that you are using. You do not need to have different shades. I generally have it on hand, but I tend to use the white and the green the most. Tweezers are essential. You don't need to have all three that I have, but I find that the angled tweezers are sufficient for everything that I am doing. Once again, they are used for different applications, so use them at your discretion. Scissors are essential. You do need to have them. So these in particular are from a cosmetic store and one is from a haberdashery store. So you don't need to have these in particular, but you do need to have small scissors as they will come in very, very handy. These cost roughly 45 rands depending on where you get them from. Silicone veiners are essential if you are going for a botanically correct look. Now I love using softer silicones as the impressions are much more prominent than using a harder silicone. These veiners are made by myself and are botanically correct, and they are made from the actual poinsettia and foxglove leaves. You can use Chinese brands, but not every veiner that comes from China may be correct, so you need to be careful when you are purchasing. Also, many local suppliers do not even know which plants the veiners belong to, and they will name it differently. So you really do need to do your research before you make that purchase. Pickle pads and Mexican pads I would think are on the borderline of being essential. This pad in particular is by Gem and it retails for about 100 rands. This one is really good to have because of the holes. Sooner or later you will need to use these pads, so it's good to have them, but you don't need them immediately depending on the flower that you make. Drying platforms are essential.
The convoluted pads are good for keeping petals in shape and creating movement on leaves. These are available at your cake decorating stores and cost roughly about 60 rands. The smaller sponges are also handy for smaller petals and leaves and are available from Discam for roughly 20 rands. And yes, you are correct. These are for taking showers. These are bathing sponges. I don't use egg cartons as I don't like the unwanted indentations and impressions on the clay. Coloring mediums are essential. You do need to use these to color your flowers or your project or whatever it is that you're making out of clay. We generally use oil paints as it doesn't dry out the cold porcelain as much as your acrylics will. Water mixable paint is also available. All three of these brands are available at P&A and they cost between 40 and 150 rands depending on the brand. Soft pastels are optional, but it is really nice to have these. They do come in handy. So these look like little sticks of chalk, and to use them you need to scrape a small amount of it into powder, and then you'll use a brush and then you will dust the powder onto whatever petal or flower you are working on. Now the Rolfies brand is a good brand. It's roughly 270 rands or so on Takealot. And then the Mangyu brand is a better brand, I think. It's much more smoother in terms of application, and the color is slightly better than the Rolfies. And these retail for about 400 rands from an art supply store. I would suggest that if you are buying a set of colors, you don't want to buy an 18 pack and then you discover there's a 24 pack and then you discover there's a 36 pack. You need to buy all the colors in one go, and then it just saves you the hassle of looking for specific colors. The nice thing about this is that unlike oil paints, you don't need to wait for it to dry. You use it, you dust whatever it is that you are working with, and you go. These are pan pastels. They're used to color your flowers or your leaves or figurines or whatever it is that you're making. You can use these in conjunction with the oil paints, meaning that you can do them in layers. So first you will paint in oil, and then once it's dry you will come back with this medium and then you will apply it with a brush. Now the consistency of this is very, very creamy. It does not need to dry overnight or anything. It's like your chalk pastels, you apply and go. Now the drawback about having these in South Africa is that it's rather expensive. It will set you back at least between 115 and 150 rands per color. So if you don't have these, you can do without them. I do not use them. These were gifted to me by the admin team of the Cold Porcelain Support Group, and I'm so grateful for them. Brushes are essential. These are makeup brushes in particular. You will need to have a few different types of brushes. Once again, different types of brushes with different angles and different edges will serve different purposes, so use them accordingly. I highly recommend buying a set like the one in the picture, and personally own a set like this as well. This will cost you roughly 150 rands to Takealot, or you can also pick them up at your local Chinese shop. Makeup sponges are optional. You sometimes use them to dab on paint instead of using brushes. This will cost you 40 rands at your local cosmetic shop. A fixative spray is essential. It is used to seal your work and prevent colors from fading. It will make your colors last longer, so you do need to have this. And that's a wrap for today. I hope that this video is going to be helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I will gladly answer all of your messages or questions. Thank you so much for watching, and happy creating. Bye.